And so this session is presented by representatives with Two Feathers Family Services. We're honored to have them share their knowledge and their perspectives with us. We're joined by just a few folks I want to show you. And as a reminder, this session will go until about 12:30 p.m. If you have questions throughout the session as you're hearing these wonderful presenters, please feel free to drop that in the chat and they will address that at the end of the presentation. Some of the folks I want to introduce today, Amy Matheson, who's a Youth Leadership Development Program Director with Two Feathers Native American Services. And we are joined by some youth ambassadors we're so excited to hear from. That would be Charlene Colgrove, Keishan Daniels, Trinity Mace, and Jasper Wilson. With that, listen, in a virtual environment, y'all, I would say clap, but we can't always hear each other. So give us some reactions to welcome our youth ambassadors and Amy Matheson. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. Thank you, Jessica, for the wonderful introduction. I'm going to share my screen here so you all can see our presentation. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us here today. We're really excited to be presenting for you all. The title of our presentation is Prevention in a Tribal Context, Centering Youth Voices with Two Feathers Native American Family Services. And so Jessica already shared our presenters, so I won't go too much into that. Just a little background about me. My name is Amy Matheson. I've worked for Two Feathers for 5 years now. I have my licensed clinical social work license, and for the last year and a half, I've been the Youth Leadership Program Director here at Two Feathers, and I'll describe a little bit more about what that means in our upcoming slides. And then we have 4 of our youth here with us today to share with you all. So Charlene Colgrove, Jasper Wilson, Keishan Daniels, and Trinity Mace. All of these folks have worked with Two Feathers for over a year now and are amazing representatives of Native American youth in our community. And I'm just really excited that you all have this opportunity to learn from them today. So to start us off, we heard that the theme of your Child Abuse Prevention Month is It Takes a Village, which really resonated with our team, with Two Feathers. And so we were really curious to hear from you all about when you think about the elements of what makes up a healthy and thriving village, what comes to mind for you? When you dream of what a healthy village would look like, what a thriving community village would look like, what is that? What does that look like for you? What words come to mind? What components are there in that village? So we're going to do a word cloud to be able to see everybody's thoughts and ideas. So Jessica's going to launch that right now. And you can scan the QR code with your phone and use it that way. Or you can click on the link in the chat, and that should pull up the word cloud as well. So if you could do one of those, and we'll be able to see what our thoughts are. I'm seeing smiling faces, connected, safety, that's a great one, love, community, healthy food, food access, cohesion, trust. Yeah. Ceremonies. Support is a big one. Yeah. So the more people respond, the larger the words get on the word cloud. So support seems to be a common theme here. Warmth, I'm seeing, mutuality, role models, collaboration, helping hand, trust, getting bigger, connected, safety, supported. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts. This is really great. We're gonna come back to this. So if you could remember your words, what you wrote in this, we will be coming back to this later and talking about how we can have our systems best support thriving communities, the communities that we're hoping to build and see around us. So remember your words here because we're going to be coming back to them. All right, let me go back to my presentation here. All right. So who are we? Why are we here? What is Two Feathers? So Two Feathers is a nonprofit organization serving Native American youth and families in Humboldt County, California. So that is like, California, I know many of you are from California. We are basically way tippy top mainly coastal area in California. So we're far north. We call it true north because, people say Northern California and they include San Francisco. And we're like, nah, we're really north up here. So yeah, we're up here. And then we were established in 1998 as a consortium of several tribes to provide direct social services to Native American families and youth in our community. So right now we are tribally chartered through the Big Lagoon Rancheria, and we provide counseling, cultural programs, youth leadership development, community events, and activities to improve the well-being and self-determination of Native American youth. So that's a little bit about us. And then the program that I lead is the Youth Leadership Development Program. And this program was formed about 3 years ago we were seeing an emerging need for supportive employment services for our young people. They were craving leadership opportunities. They were craving connection to their community, craving an opportunity to learn work skills in a supportive environment. And so we felt that Two Feathers could uniquely serve that need in our community. And so we started employing Native American youth in our community. Currently, we have, gosh, what's the number right now? I think we have 41 youth that we currently employ. It's a year-long program. We have youth who are juniors and seniors in high school, and then also youth who have transitioned out of high school and are about 17 to 20 years of age. So we call those our senior youth ambassadors. So 3 of our youth here on this call are our senior youth ambassadors, and 1 is our youth ambassador that's Jasper, and he's a senior in high school. So through our program, we offer individualized support with a mentor who provides case management services, help support our youth with goal setting, helping them achieve their goals, and building work skills and leadership skills throughout the year. We also provide various cultural engagement opportunities. One of our program's main goals is to increase our youth's cultural identity and knowledge. So we try to provide a lot of cultural engagement opportunities. That's really the core of what we do here at Two Feathers, and a big part of our program. We also provide community advocacy, so opportunities like this for our young people to speak to people within their community and outside of their community to advocate for Native American youth issues and needs. So this is, a great opportunity for our young people to do that. We also provide work experience, so there's internships and other opportunities for our youth to practice their skills that they're learning this year. So that's great. And then college and career readiness. So college tours, exploring, what kinds of careers they'd like to go into, and providing access to those spaces and those opportunities. So that's our program briefly. And I'm going to stop talking because this is a great opportunity. I always think about our young people and when they are able to share just how unique it is. We're often in spaces where adults are talking to us and we're learning from adults, but this is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and what better way to learn about how to prevent child abuse by learning from young people who are closer in proximity to those experiences. So I'm just really excited. And, for some of our youth here, this is maybe the first or second time they've done something like this. So there might be some nerves there, but they're going to do a great job, and just give them all the love, all the reactions in the chat. And yeah. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to Trinity Mace. She is one of our senior youth ambassadors. She's worked for Two Feathers for almost 2 years now. She engages a lot in her community. She's a mentor in some of our schools and just an amazing young person working and living in the Hoopa Valley community. And so I'm going to throw it over to her. And you ready, Trinity?
Yeah, thank you, Amy. So today we're going to be talking about historical context. There is 574 federally recognized tribes in the U.S. and 109 in California. Tribes that young people belong to are diverse with distinct history, languages, and traditions. Indigenous children experience more trauma than their non-Indigenous peers due to historical traumas. 3 times more likely to have experienced multiple ACEs, which means adverse childhood experiences. 2 times more likely to experience trauma. And Native American children experience post-traumatic disorder, PTSD, at the same rate as a war veteran returning from Iraq. Department of Justice, 2014. We're going to be talking about the Spanish mission period. So from 1769 to 1833, when Spanish missionaries established a series of missions along the California coast. They began with the arrival of the first mission San Diego de Alcala, sorry, I don't really know how to pronounce that, in 1769 and continued until the last mission San Francisco de Asis, was established in 1776. The missions were intended to convert indigenous people to Christianity and expand Spanish territory. The period is characterized by the establishment of 21 missions, which played a significant role in the culture and historical development of California. The missions' negative effect on Native Americans. There were crowded, harsh living situations, contributed to the native health problems and infant mortality and death rates among young children. You can switch. This is the gold rush period. The gold rush had a big impact on Native Americans of the Pacific coast, leading to a drastic decline in their populations due to diseases, violence, and displacement from their ancestral lands. The impact on traditional lifestyles. Gold rush made it difficult, if not impossible, for natives to maintain traditional lifestyles. Reservations. Many Native people were forced onto reservations where they had limited access to their homelands and resources. Right here, we're going to talk about the population decline. Before the gold rush, an estimated of 150,000 Native Americans lived in California. By 1870, the number had plummeted to around 30,000, with diseases, violence being the main cause. And then, my bad. Boarding schools. Children and families have been forced to relocate and intentionally separate from their native communities and culture repeatedly. There were more than 526 government-funded and often church-run Native boarding schools across the U.S. in the 19th and 20th century. Native children were forcibly abducted by government agents and sent to schools hundreds of miles away, starved, abused when they spoke their native language. By 1900s, 20,000 children in boarding school. There were 20,000 children in boarding schools, and by 1925, 60,889 children were in boarding schools. By 1926, nearly 83% of Native school-age students were attending boarding schools. So in this slide, we're going to be talking about systems and villages, modern-day challenges. What does the word system mean to me? When I think of the word system, I think of society, like government, child welfare services, healthcare, education, corporate structures, the shape of everyday life. And then I'm also opening it up for anybody to put in the chat what they think systems mean to them. So if you guys want, you guys could put that in the chat, and we'll take a little break for you guys to do that. Amy said justice systems. Racism. Should I name off all of them, Amy?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Family, oppression. I don't know.
Political. Vaughn said political. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Assistance programs. Nice. Okay. Well, based on the systems that we've all shared, religious systems, thanks, Catherine. We're curious, we're going to do a poll for everybody is when you think of systems that we've discussed and that you all have put in the chat, do you have positive, negative, or complicated feelings that arise? Think about our current systems and as we know them. You could answer the poll, or if you want to put your thoughts in the chat too, that's great.
We're at 50% participation on the poll. We'll give people a second to make their selection and then I'll share that out. I'll make sure when we get to 75%, I will go ahead and share. We are getting there, creeping up. Okay, I'm going to end this poll and share the results.
Right. So based on the results, thanks for sharing that, Jessica. Sounds like 83% of us felt complicated when we think about these systems. 15% have predominantly negative feelings, and then 2% have positive feelings. That's pretty low number that, you know, when we think about the systems in our life that we feel positive. So I'm curious if anybody feels like they'd like to share, come off mute and share about, you know, why maybe those feelings arise. Like what comes up for you? You know, you don't have to go too deep if you've had negative interactions or, you know, what you've seen. But yeah, I'm just curious what thoughts are coming up for folks. See, Jessica has her hand raised. Jessica, want to share?
Yeah, I said complicated. It feels a lot like there's a lot of things that are available to families, but there's certain requirements that need to be met and they're struggling. So then, you know, it provides that complication of overqualifying or underqualifying for certain parts of whatever it is that they may need.
Appreciate that, Jessica. I think that speaks to like the hoops that people have to jump through and the red tape that they have to navigate and how overcomplicated it can be, and how there can be strings attached with our systems and that can prioritize different things, maybe not best meet the needs of our folks. Anybody else have any other things they'd like to share? We don't. We have Katie wrote in the chat, she said, very complicated by design. They are supposed to be helpful for society, but because they are broken, they're unhelpful and unbalanced. Appreciate that, Katie.
I think there also has to do, there are so many things into a flawed system. Sometimes it can also be overworking, you know, those that are supposed to be helping out, the workers. There could be, like Jessica said, certain requirements that put different individuals into certain criteria that don't fail, although they need the help. So there's just so many different challenges and barriers for families as well.
Appreciate that, Gloria. I think most of us get into helping professions because we want to help people, and that's where our values lie and our heart lie. And yet we get burnt out, or we feel like we can't really effectively help people because of the way that the system is structured and set up. So I definitely feel that. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else? All right. Well, based on that, Trinity's going to share some more about our vision of when systems work well. What do we do? What do they look like?
So when systems work well, they support thriving villages. A system helps prioritize what's important, like children who live in non-safe environments. We need structure to maintain order, promote equality, bridging the gaps between the rich and poor by giving everyone access to essential services, protecting rights, laws ensure freedom, protection, and to ensure fair treatments, promote justice. They create systems to address wrongdoings and provide consequences to harmful actions.
Thanks, Trinity. I feel like that speaks to a lot of what folks are saying in their comments and in the chat, why it's so complicated, because ideally by design, the purpose of these systems are to promote thriving and support thriving villages, and yet so often they fail in their execution of doing so. And so teasing apart why and how to address those issues can be very complicated, but this is the dream, right? This is what we all hope for and what we all show up to work for every single day. So based on that, when we're like thinking about going back to our question about what do we believe that thriving and healthy villages look like, we have that vision, that idea in our mind. That's what we care about. What can we as communities, individuals, and leaders, so thinking about the various levels of responsibility, what can we do to better align our systems with our vision of thriving villages? Where is that gap, and how do we bridge that gap? Complicated question. Many people have tried, I think, to make them work better, but we're curious your ideas. How would you radically change things, dream big, or just even in small ways in your work? What do you see are little tweaks that could be made that would serve your families and your communities better? So if you want to throw your ideas in the chat or come off mute, we'd love to hear your ideas.
I think personally for me, I think wanting to create a relationship with your clients as well as being honest with them. Um, For example, let's say you let them know that there are services offered to them, but then you also have to let them know that there's a wait list for it. It's a month-long wait list, not just telling them, oh, we have all these amazing opportunities, but then not informing them of the wait list or of the barriers or challenges that they may come across when trying to access those services. And I think just wanting to create a relationship and being honest with them in certain things. Um, and if you said, um, like for example, if you said if you tell them, oh, I'll call you tomorrow, and you don't call them tomorrow, it's like, what if they were waiting for your call? And I think just those little things add on to creating a relationship with your own clients. So even the little things matter as well when wanting to create like a thriving village and with honesty and community.
I love that, Gloria. I feel like the one of the big words on the word cloud was community and that relationship. Thriving villages rely on solid trust and relationships, and you only can build that trust through time and also honesty. Being honest about what you can do, what you can't do, what's possible, what's maybe not possible. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. There's a lot of comments in the chat. I'm seeing Jessica said advocacy. Monique said outreach. Seeing shared power, listening. I like that. A lot of listening. Ask what people need. I think that goes into that listening piece, like being truly curious about how to best meet our community's needs. Serving individually and together, engaging communities and people as part of the change and redesign of the system. I love that, Sarah, that speaks to like sharing power. often within our systems, we have a very like hierarchical top-down model. And how do we better share power with the people who are receiving these services, who are being the most impacted by these systems, I think is important.
We also
question.
have a hand raised from a participant, I think, that wants to come off mute. Jackie?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, one of the things, I'm a CASA volunteer and a CASA employee, a court-appointed special advocate in Sacramento. And one of the things we're always trying to do is meet our clients, our youth where they are, but also meeting our potential donors or community members to collaborate where they are as well. So we may have certain needs, but we need to leave space to allow people to be creative and try to figure out where there can be compromise, where they can create community. And if everyone is authentic in doing that, it usually will have some progress.
Thank you for sharing, Jackie. That was great. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to unmute and share? Well, Trinity, do you want to share some of your ideas?
Yes. So I just wrote down some like ideas that I had for communities, leaders, and individuals. So for communities, I said promote transparency and encourage participation. So make systems more open and understandable so people feel more included, not manipulated. Give people a voice in shaping the system that affects them by creating platforms for dialogue and feedback. For leaders, I said accountability and improve. Leaders should ensure fairness and take responsibility when systems fail. Replace outdated or harmful systems. Embracing change with a proactive mindset allows organizations to thrive in an evolving world, setting a positive example for everyone involved. For individuals, I said redefine the system, get involved, look at systems as something that can be reshaped. By embracing this mindset, we allow ourselves to imagine new possibilities and create solutions that are more adaptable. Advocate for environments where growth and change are not only welcomed but celebrated or collaborated, my bad.
Awesome. Thank you, Trinity. All right, so that's Trinity's portion, sharing a little bit of the historical context and talking about where we are at with our current systems. We'd love for folks to take a quick stretch break, if you'd like, get a drink of water before we move into our next portion. Sometimes these presentations can be long. Take a drink of your beverage, and then we'll move on to we're going to move into, okay, well, what does this practically look like for professionals and practitioners? You're an individual who is working with Native American families and youth. How do you best support them and work with them in a good way? And so we're going to move into Keishan Daniels sharing one helpful tool and a place to start. And many of you have probably heard of this concept of cultural humility. She's going to be going a little bit deeper and talking about what that means specifically from her perspective as a Native American youth. And she's also asked people in her community this question as well. So she's gotten a lot of feedback. So I think it'll be helpful for us to think about how we actually apply cultural humility to our work. So Keishan, I'll throw it over to you.
Okay. So cultural humility is a starting point. Cultural humility is a process of self-reflection and a lifelong inquiry that involves recognizing and respecting the differences and the complexities of various cultures while acknowledging one's own limitations and biases. It emphasizes self-awareness, openness, and a commitment to ongoing learning and improvement in cross-cultural interaction. So when asked this question, I was like kind of taken back by myself and like had to take a second and think about like what this meant to me. So the first thing I did was reach out to like people in my community, and I feel like that's a big thing about like what this means to me is like taking the time to get everybody's opinion and see what everybody knows. So I reached out to a few people in my community about what culture humility means to them. And one of the responses I got was, I think it's about looking at what your beliefs are and being able to open up to other beliefs. And also that you take time to consider other people's cultural perspectives, understanding where, wait, hold on, the thing is like cutting off so I can see. Understanding where your own perceptions and biases come from, and instead of making judgments on other people's actions or choices based on your own understanding, make room for everyone to be right. And for me, it meant something very similar to have the willingness to learn from others and have an open mind of others' beliefs while also acknowledging and accepting the differences. I feel like that's a big thing in Native communities. Like different families have different beliefs, but at the end of the day, we all come together and work together. And yeah, so that was that one. And then a few ways that you could practice cultural humility in the work you do is take the time to listen without judgment. Be aware of privilege in social and professional settings. Understand that learning about culture is going to take time. Act as an advocate and an ally. Be open-minded and take the time to educate yourself. And then at the end here, there's a link to our Two Feathers YouTube channel where there's a few different videos about there's like youth telling their stories and just like a bunch of informational things that I feel like could be beneficial on there. But yeah, that's pretty much like a summarization of it would be to me yeah, you just have to really take the time and be open-minded that there's going to be differences. People have different opinions on things, but at the end of the day, it's all about being like accepting those differences and being open-minded and yeah, just it's going to take time. It's like I said on here previously, it's an ongoing like journey that's not going to be fast. It's going to take a long time, but just to have the willingness to learn and wanting to learn and wanting to better yourself in that aspect for your community and for your people. Is there another one?
I think that's it, Keish. Good job. Thank you for sharing. If anybody has any reflections that you'd like to put in the chat about cultural humility, maybe how you've been able to practice that in your work, how it's shown up for you, please feel free to share. And I appreciate Keisha and you getting perspective from various community members. And it's a good reminder and a good baseline for all of our work. So we felt like when we talked about how to best work within Native American communities, we felt like the baseline is cultural humility, you know, showing up curious, showing up as a learner instead of the person who holds the knowledge and has all the answers. And then also we felt like that's step one. And then step two, we felt like is trust. And a lot of you put trust in that word cloud as an important component of a thriving community. So I'm glad that we're all on the same page here and we're thinking along the same thoughts. So we were curious, when you think about trust, if there's a person that comes to mind who you felt like you've had deep trust with, or you could really, really trust, in what ways did they show up for you to build trust? How did they do that? And then how did you know that you could trust them? So I was hoping that folks could maybe take a couple minutes to think about this prompt and then put your ideas in the chat. And then if after a couple minutes, if a few people kind of want to share about people that have made an impact in their life and they've been able to trust.
I'm seeing a few good things in here, Amy. I see one. I can share my thoughts and feelings without judgment. They hold space for me, genuine listening. Trust for me is to build on consistency, need to know that this person will actually do what they say, however big or small. Listening, is very consistent. School teachers were always helpful for me. They were able to listen and reflect on what I had to say and how I felt. Listening without judgment's a big one. Feeling seen. The most trustworthy person I know is respectful towards me, cares about me, thinks I'm a good person, and doesn't waver waver even when I make a mistake or do something stupid. Being reliable is a big one. Feeling heard without judgment. Yeah.
That's a great ones.
Trust it takes time.
Does anybody want to share anything off mute about that person, or how they showed up for you, or what that meant for you? Thinks I'm a good person. That's good. I like seeing a lot of themes of taking time, really showing up consistently and listening and being curious and like actually, showing that they care about your ideas and perspectives. Taking accountability. Yeah, that's a huge one. All right. Well, thank you for engaging in this reflection. It's really interesting because this, like all of your thoughts really reflect the next portion of what I'm going to talk about. So I just want to share, some of my my thoughts and perspectives as somebody who's worked within Native communities with youth and families for over 7 years. So just as a little bit of a context, I first started working with Native American families as an intern with child welfare. And then I transitioned into working as an investigator for child welfare, working within ICWA and tribes. And so, I'd be the one going out and engaging with families and having to ask the hard questions and be a representative of a system that didn't always best serve our Native American families. And then from there, I transitioned to Two Feathers as a clinician, and then now in my role as a director. So I have, some experience. I don't know everything, that's for sure. I've still got a lot to learn, but these are just some of my thoughts when I was thinking about what's made a difference, what's worked for me. And I think a lot of you shared these things in the chat as well. So probably not new to most folks, but being consistent and reliable, I think, is the number one. So just showing up consistently and being reliable. When you say you're going to do something, following through and doing that. Somebody shared earlier about not over-promising and being honest about what you can do. I think that's really, really important. And also, as many of you know, like our youth and families who often are engaging with these systems, they've had a lot of people not follow through and leave their lives pretty quickly, and come and go because the work is hard or for other factors. But what really makes a difference, I think, is longevity and consistency. It just like can heal some of those trust issues and some of those wounds, I think. Being authentic, so showing up as yourself, not putting on some sort of like mask or trying to be somebody you're not. I think people are pretty good at reading that and pointing that out and being like, oh, like, this person is fake, or, we all know what it means to have somebody who's fake in our lives. And so just being authentically yourself. You are somebody who care, you care, you want to help people, and just, bringing your full self to whatever that relationship is and the work that you're doing. And expressing curiosity. So a lot of you said in the chat that these people that you trusted showed up and really like listened to you and were curious about your ideas and your perspectives and what you wanted to do with your life. And I think that's huge. I remember the person I think about is a teacher that I had, and it was the first time a teacher had would sit down with me and listen to my thoughts and dreams and ideas and like engage with them and didn't shut them down as a young person. I think that's really important when we're engaging with youth, is really taking their ideas seriously. So taking time and slowing down. This one's hard for me. Like I'm go, 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 we're fast. We've got a lot going on as professionals. You've got a lot of clients meeting after meeting, but I think it's so important to, when you're engaging with folks, is to slow down, take time, listen, learn, not trying to rush through things as quickly as possible. I know that's not always, an option within our systems, but doing our best to really show up for people and taking time to be in relationship with them. Being humble and non-defensive. And this goes with the taking accountability too. We're going to make mistakes. I have made a lot of mistakes, in my career. And I've had to take some hard accountability, and it's been a really growth opportunity for me. But being honest about when you forget to show up for something, or you didn't follow through, or when you did harm and you didn't mean to do harm, that happens. And taking accountability for that, saying I'm sorry, and trying to do the work to repair that relationship is so important. Not being defensive, if somebody, I'm just reflecting on my work at child welfare, people had some justifiable complaints and concerns about the system, right? And we're angry at the system, as they should be. And it wasn't my job to defend the system, but to approach it as, I'm an individual here to help. I don't need to like defend the system and say like, oh no, your experience isn't correct or true, because that's their experience. So I don't know. I think the non-defensive position is really important. Providing opportunities. So I think as non-native folks, so to preface, I'm not native. I'm of German and Scottish descent. So I really view my role as a bridge builder. I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the direct resources sometimes. I'm not the one that should be in the position, sharing, but what I can do is provide the bridge, provide the opportunity, reach out to that resource or that individual who might have that knowledge, and to be that bridge builder. So yeah, I think being a bridge builder is really, really important in this work. And sharing power, we talked about that earlier. So often, again, within systems, it can be really, really hard to share power because the systems are hierarchical, they're top down. But what are the ways in which we can share power with young people? It's so important. It can be a challenge, but how do we give decision-making to our clients in the ways that are safe and helpful for them to have that decision making? And then meet them where they are. So, folks are showing up as they are, and in the place in their life that they are. So not expecting them to be somewhere else or something else than what they are, but also believing in their growth potential. So there's opportunities to also share with people, that we believe in change. That's why we're here, is because we believe in people's ability to change, and that we can hopefully help support them in that change journey. And so not just accepting that, I don't know, this is important for me, not just accepting that this is just the way it is, and this is the way it is always going to be. Like, how can I help you move forward and grow and achieve like the full potential that you're hoping to achieve in your life? And then to celebrate successes, small and big. I think those small wins are really important in this work, right? We often don't get to see the big wins in the work that we do. So really taking comfort ourselves and with our clients and the people we work with, like those little changes lead to the big changes. And so celebrating those milestones with people, and yeah, I think that's really important. And then having fun. So that's my last one. Having fun, I don't know what that looks like for you and in your work, but laughter is so important in community with people, in relationship with people. My favorite times are when I get to hang out with our youth ambassadors, with our youth, and we just like we're laughing, we're having a good time. We're like, just, it might not even be about anything important, and it might not seem like we got a lot of work done that day, but we were connecting, and having a great time. And I walk away from those days just being like, yeah, I love my job. That was so fun. So take time to have fun with people. So those are my thoughts, my tips. I don't know if anybody has any questions or things that maybe I missed on this list that you're thinking of, that you bring to your work, to build relationships and to build trust with people. I'd love to hear maybe what I missed, or if there's something that really resonates with you. Put it in the chat, or if you want to come off mute, I'm up for that too. Christina said, helping remove obstacles so people can thrive as their authentic selves. That's great. Yeah. Helping people problem solve, helping to be an advocate. Thanks, Christina. Recognizing historical trauma our systems have done. They want to fast track the relationships and then give up if they don't see it progressing. Yes, it takes time to build trust. Yes, that's like consistency, reliability. And I think sometimes, we've heard, many of you probably have heard about like a savior mindset. Like we should not be coming in as individuals and thinking we're going to like fix people or save people. Again, we're, those supportive people, bridge builders, and all of that takes time. Center and uplift their knowledge. I love that. Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to pass it over to Jasper. So he's one of our youth ambassadors. He's worked with Two Feathers for about 2 years now, senior in high school, just like an amazing young man who is starting his own journey of public speaking and advocacy and being a community leader. So I'm really excited to turn it over to Jasper, and he's going to share what trust building looks like from his perspective and what's worked for him as a young person. Oh, and just as a side note, his camera is not working, so fortunately won't we be able to see his face, but he is here with us. And Jasper, you ready to share?
Yeah. Hello, my name's Jasper. Today I'm talking about trust building from my perspective, youth perspective. So someone who I trust to talk to about anything is my therapist, Drea. She is someone who has helped me deal with problems that I have and come up with solutions. She supports me as a counselor, and she helps me by being a trusted adult who listens to what I say, so then I could be a better person. What has helped me is talking to her about what is wrong and come up with solutions that help me deal with the problems that I'm currently trying to solve. What didn't help was some ideas that we had, but there was some that do help me, and I'm glad that it did. There's some recent examples. When I got a citation while driving, I didn't know what I could do, who to or who to ask. Till I reached out to people who I trusted to talk about the situation, and I felt so much more calm and collected about it, because I thought I was going to go to jail if for this citation. But after trusting the people and talking about it, I just felt better. And those people were there for me when I needed it, and I really appreciate that. It helped me feel more at peace and more happy.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasper. Do you have any other like recommendations for the folks here about how they can build trust with youth? And do you have any other thoughts you'd like to share?
Yeah. So if you want to build trust, there's always a bunch of different ways that you could do it. You can slowly try to talk to them, and over time they will feel more comfortable with you about talking about their problems, and they will have you as a trusted adult that they know that they feel safe talking to. And yeah, it's like that'd be a good reason to try to talk to someone, to talk to a youth.
Thank you, Jasper. Trinity, Keishan, or Charlene, do you have any thoughts too about what trust looks like from a youth perspective?
I think Jasper did a good job covering it, especially when he mentioned like it takes time and you need to like trust the process and don't like pressure people or feel as though like, oh, I'm doing all this work and I'm getting nothing out of it. Like a lot of people go through a lot of different things, so therefore like solutions to problems are going to look a lot different for everybody. But yeah, I think just definitely consistency would be like my main one for me and like the people around me. It's like I'm not gonna trust somebody if they're not even like, saying they're gonna be there, or like, just little things. It's really the little things. Like somebody mentioned earlier, like, oh, they said you're gonna call and then they're waiting all day for your call and then they didn't get the call or something like that. Like it really is just the little things and being consistent and like don't expect the process to just like be fast, I guess, really is what I'm trying to get at.
I love that. Keishan, I like really appreciated how you said that solutions look different for different people, and that, sometimes in our systems, we think like a one size fits all. You're experiencing this problem. Okay, here's the solution. Here's the agency that you go to, and this is what they can do for you. But how can we be creative and support people with the needs that best serve them? So I appreciate that. That was great.
Yeah, I really liked what Keishan said about like consistency, because that's a big one for me. But I'd have to say like most importantly, like feeling safe. Like if I feel safe around a person, like I feel like it's super easy for me to open up, and for them to be honest and have openness, in our conversations and stuff like that. And yeah, just sticking around and not just being consistent. Because I notice like when I go into like the schools that I go to in my community, like I'm pretty consistent with going into there. So like I build relationships with all the students, and it's a pretty small school. So like I have a really good relationship with every one of them. And they just like that we show up all the time and we bring activities. And I think that's very important, just showing up.
Maybe one thing that I've noticed that you do in the schools too is you ask them for their feedback, right? And so you're asking, what would you like to do? So you're sharing power with the folks that you're working with and getting their perspective as well. Charlene, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, what I think helps build rapport with adults and youth is being honest. I feel like, as people are stating, systems are not being honest about time management, things of that nature. So I think, being honest about what you need and what you can use for effective support for you is a good idea and would really help build trust within youth and adult.
Thank you, Charlene. Appreciate it. All right, so that's our conversation on trust. We are going to move into kind of our final portion of today before we open it up for questions. If you all have had any questions throughout this time, we'll have some time at the end. So I'm going to throw it over to Charlene. Charlene's also worked with us for a couple years. She lives in Hoopa, California, and is doing great work with young people there. He's an amazing advocate and has spoken at quite a few of our conferences and youth panels and is really passionate about advocating for her community. So I'm excited for us to learn from her today. She's going to be sharing some resources that hopefully we can all take away and utilize in our practice. So Charlene, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so today we're gonna start this part of the presentation with a very good map website that shows you all the native lands that you reside in that are close to you, and I thought we could check it out.
Hopefully everybody can see my screen here. So you can, when you click on the link that's in the chat, you can go to map here. And then over here, you can see that's the place for you to search your address. So what we'd love for everybody to do is put in either where you're located right now, from your office, or you can put in your home address, and it should pop up which tribe. So I'll do our Two Feathers office here in McKinleyville. So we're at 1560 Betty Court in McKinleyville, and then it'll zoom in on this, on where we're at right now. You can zoom in and you can zoom out. But if you can see here, the map is sharing that we are currently residing on Wiyot ancestral territory. And then you can zoom out farther. So I live in Eureka, which is north of us or south of us. And that is also Wiyot ancestral land down there. And so if everybody could throw, once you put in your address, if you could put in the chat what tribes you're currently residing on. So I'm seeing Miwok, Nisenan, Wiyot, Nisenan, might say some of these wrong, I apologize. Kumye, Kumias, Hoopa, Tonga, Walla Walla, Nisenan, lots of Nisenan, Hoopa, Cayuse, Umatia, Walla Walla, Ohlone, Chumash, and Tongva. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I think, this is a great resource for everybody, really knowing what is the history of the place that you are on currently right now, and just recognizing that is a great baseline resource. You can also, on this website, you can research the languages. So, if you're more nerdy and you want to know more, there's definitely more information on this website that you can look up. So what languages are being spoken, you can see Yurok, Cholula, Hoopa. It was interesting. I was looking up this with Charlene and some of our other youth ambassadors, and there were some tribes, we didn't know about. And we're like, oh, that's really interesting. We should learn more about that tribe in our area. And then you can also click on the treaties here. So if you want to go even deeper, you can look at the treaties that tribes sign with the United States government, and you can click on them and do a little more research about what those treaties were. So yeah, just like kind of a nerd resource, but it's great to know at least bare minimum the tribe that is you're on. So thank you for doing that. And I will go back to our slideshow here. Okay, Charlene.
Okay, today we're just gonna go through some resources that would be helpful for you people as health clinicians for Native families, and Two Feathers, of course. Two Feathers Family Services. We provide a lot of variety of things. Actually, we do therapy. We have adult guidance. We have all kinds of things that could help natives, families, not just youth, but also families. And we have tribal medical centers. So, wherever your youth or whoever you are helping, your client or whatever, If you don't know what to do or how to help them in a way that is respectful to their culture and their practices, you can reach out to a tribal medical center that will be most um, oh my gosh, sorry guys. They will be so grateful that you come to them for some help and stuff. And they have tribal websites. You have Kamau Medical Center, you have Two Feathers, you have the Friendship House. Their website is beautiful. I love their website. It's super helpful and it's got a lot of information on it. And you have Tribal TANF. I love Tribal TANF because they're so helpful for families. And Tribal TANF stands for Tribal Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. And I feel like TANF is a really good resource for families because they're really flexible. And like a lot of the times we're dealing with systems, that aren't quite adequate at helping families or getting time management down within that aspect. So I love TANF. That would be a really good website for you to check out, and is designed to assist Native American children and also adults for assisting children. So I think that's very helpful. And it's a federal and state funded program, so they have more than enough to support Native families, and which is very helpful, I think, too. And they have cash aid, a multiple financial resources that you can use for Native families. They have employment services, so they can get you employed or help you maintain your employment. And they do things with rehab services, and they can help you with addiction services. And they just overall just help with supportive services. They have a much variety of just all kinds of different tools you need to excel your Native family and your Native client as well. So, and the Friendship House, I talked a little bit about that already. And I really personally, I have had some personal interactions with Friendship House with, family, community members, and whatnot. And I feel like they're really, really helpful because not only do they help with rehabilitation services, but they also help with cultural services. So if you're feeling a little going through addiction and you can't seem to figure out how to get in touch with your cultural identity, that would be a very perfect thing to do for your client as well. Local Indian education resources. Those are really good because personally they have a lot of books and a lot of documents about things you need to know in your local area. For example, we have Indian Ed. You can go there and you can rent out books and you can rent out movies. You can rent out anything you need. And usually they provide them in, reservations, native schools, like things like that. But I'm sure you can get on a website and find out some other resources to help you and your client. And elder guidance, for me, elder guidance is just super a necessity for children to help them find healthy coping mechanisms, because often the times in our communities that Native youth, they have a trouble with finding healthy coping mechanisms instead of unhealthy ones. So I feel like interacting with elders in our community is always very helpful for our children and our peers. And Also helping with native cultural practices is very, very good. It can help with problem solving skills. It can help you just overall just become a better rounded person and give you some mental health relief, and bring down those cortisol levels is what I'm trying to say. And asking Native community members, leaders about ceremonies, I feel like a lot of that is very important for children in the Native community, because one person I really admire in Two Feathers is Ernie. He's a man, and a lot of boys in my community don't have guidance as much as that. So I really appreciate him for stepping up and giving them a positive outlook on the life on the reservation. And tribal fitness buildings. So as natives are susceptible to diabetes and stuff such as that. And so I feel like, figuring out how to have a nutritional diet is very important, especially amongst native communities. And, shorten down your sugar intake is very important. And fitness is very good for fatigue and just overall mental health awareness. So that would be really good for you if you don't know what kind of treatment might work for you or might not work for you. So I think that would be a good outlet to look into. Resources professionals. Start by engaging with the youth and family and take the time to learn what resources or supports they could benefit from. So, I just named off a lot of resources that you guys could use. And I feel like if you implement them in a positive and strength based way, I feel like your client will very much appreciate it. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So you see me here on this Zoom right now. I don't do Zooms like this, but I appreciate your guys' patience. And side-wide directory of services for Native American families. And that would be a really good website for you and your client as well. Strong Hearts Native Helpline, and the number is included as well. That is a very good resource for you and your client as well. And it is very confidential, which I know is a very problematic situation in, health clinicians' practices. And I feel like it would be a very appropriate resource for you and your client.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlene. You did a great job. I appreciate all the resources. I do encourage folks, if you live in California, to click on that statewide directory of services. I didn't know about it prior to actually doing this presentation and when we were researching resources. And it's a great website where you can enter your county and then enter your services that you're looking for. So you can choose dental, mental health, medical, and it'll show you all the tribes in your area who provide those resources, all the Native American health centers, different things like that. So that's a great place to start. If you do have a client who needs something and you don't know where to look, that can be a great one, as well as what Charlene said about tribes websites. That can be a great way. If you have a client who, let's say, isn't a member of their tribe, but they can apply for membership. You can go to the tribal website. You can help research what steps they need to do that. That can be a great benefit to Native American youth and families in getting benefits and feeling connected to their tribes. So there's lots of resources generally on tribal websites, which can be a great place to start as well. So I think that we are at our question time. Yep, we are. So we can open it up for questions. I'd love for them to be questions that the youth can answer, but also I'm available to answer questions as well. So yeah, we can open it up, you can throw them in the chat and I'll read them out loud, or if you'd like to come off mute and ask or even share any reflections about the presentation, if you'd like as well.
It's me again, Jackie, from Sacramento. I know when I was a young person doing these kinds of meetings, although not in Zoom, if there was too much silence, it was very uncomfortable. So I don't want you kids to not feel like we're not engaged because there's a bunch of silence. So I have a few questions regarding that. As a CASA working with youth, I really appreciated all the information you gave about how to connect with youth, consistency, and all those kinds of things. So I would like to know whether your agencies or any of the agencies that you referred to, Charlene, work with foster youth, and if any of the agencies work with CASAs locally, because as a person who goes out in the community to build bridges and as a CASA myself, I'd be interested to know what you know or how you might think about us building some bridges in our Native communities.
What do you think, guys? You got any thoughts?
I think they should make it very accessible to people who are in the foster system, because they need resources and support, and if they don't have a support team and the resources they need, then it's very hard for them to adequately care for themselves.
Charlene. I think Jackie, I think and you guys will probably already do this, but reaching out to tribal social workers. So knowing who, obviously first step is knowing is that youth have Native ancestry, is it an ICWA case? I'm sure you do all of that in your, first initial assessments and the information you get, but building that relationship with the tribal social workers and social services can be really key, because especially for our community, those social workers, they know about the families. They have had pre-existing relationships with Native families in their community and would have access to more resources than, even a social worker working for the county. They'll be able to connect them to cultural opportunities, to ceremony, to, those resources that will really meet their cultural needs. So that's always my recommendation is, is there a social worker who works for the tribe that's involved, and can you get in with them and, build that relationship? I think it's critical.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thank you for your question.
I'm wondering, Monique put in the chat and asked any movie or book recommendations that will help us understand and learn about your communities and experience a bit more. So for our youth here, have you read or seen anything that's been helpful for you, or things that you would recommend? We also have a few folks on here who might have some recommendations as well. So I know some of my coworkers might have some thoughts. So I don't know if they want to respond to that as well, but I would encourage them to do that. But you guys have anything?
I think people should definitely check out our YouTube channel and watch our videos on there.
That's a good one. We'll always plug Two Feathers, On our website, we also have some videos from our healing journey story. Trinity's one who shared her story, and we are coming out with another film, our second round of healing journeys about mental health and suicide. And we've got youth who are sharing their stories there as well. So check out those videos. And then Keishan shared her healing journey story, and that was it like 2 years ago, Keish?
It was 4 years ago now.
4, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big deal. So
Hopefully there'll
4
be a
years
part
ago.
2.
Yeah, wait for part 2, be on the lookout, but that's on our YouTube page as well. Oh, Kelly just subscribed to our channel, so good job, Kelly. Bonus points. Desiree asks, where should I direct someone who thinks their unknown father has Native ancestry? Do you all know any resources or where they should go? Maybe if other people.
Yeah, not one that comes to mind because it's a very sensitive topic, I feel like, which is like, whoa, that's crazy.
It is crazy. I think yes, it is sensitive. I appreciate that, Charlene, and finding those resources and that information can be challenging for folks. And so, and each tribe has different systems, can have different systems on how best to go about that. So if you have an idea of what those tribes might be, is reaching out like directly to the tribes and getting information on what the next steps would be. It is dependent from tribe to tribe. Okay, if there's no more questions, I think I'll share our contact information here in the chat. So if you have any further questions, if you are interested to know anything else, please feel free to reach out. That's my email there. And then all of our youth ambassadors' emails as well. I'm sure they would love to hear from you all. And yeah, we thank you so much.
On behalf of the participants on this call, I just want to extend our gratitude to the Two Feathers Tribal Family Service. Of course, thank you, Amy. Thank you to our youth ambassadors. I feel like, and you can see it rolling through the comments now, you'll see all the thank yous, all the great jobs. You've served this community so well today by bringing important and relevant resources. You really knew your audience and you gave them something to take with them, not just today, but for the rest of this year as well. So thank you so much for that. We also want to thank the partners that made this webinar series happen. That would be the Office of Child Abuse Prevention, the Child Abuse Prevention Center, Caltrin, the California Training Institute, and Safe and Sound. And one thing I do want to mention and just highlight, trust was spoken about a lot today. It's very important. It was actually the #1 word on the Mentimeter today. And that perfectly lines us up to remind you that next week, next Wednesday, the session is all about trust. It's building the village from trust up. That's the topic that's going to be covered in more detail, which is a perfect alignment to today. That session, just so that you know, is going to be a little bit different. It's a lunch and learn. So bring a snack with you. It's going to be from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. The information on how to register for that session is available on your action sheet. We'll probably, thank you, it's also in the chat. And lastly, but not leastly, we'd love to know how this experience was for you. Amy and Youth Ambassadors, something that you don't know is that Youth Ambassadors' voices haven't been represented in some of the previous CAP month trainings. I thought that this was incredibly unique, very special, and incredibly helpful. So we'd love to hear participants, your thoughts about it. There's a survey for you in the chat now. If you click that survey, let us know about your experience. We would love to weave in your thoughts into not just this series, but in future series to come. So with that, we are landing right on time. We'll give you a few minutes of your time back today, and just want to thank you all so much. As a reminder, a replay of this session will be sent to your registration email in about the next 2 days, along with some of the resources that were discussed today. For anyone asking, I saw in the chat, if you miss a session because you couldn't make it, well, guess what? If you've registered for it, you will also get a replay for it. So make sure you register even if you can't be there live time. And with that, we wish you a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody.